Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I'm very happy to be back in my little craft room after a lovely trip away to Sussex for the Bazaar August show. You'll know all about that. I won't bang on about it again. I'm sure you've all heard quite enough about that by now. Suffice to say, we had a wonderful time. I'm still working on the quilt, and you haven't heard the last of it yet. But today it's all about getting back to my underwater world project, inspired by the wonderful Viviana Molinares. And I have got a new little gadget to help me, and a new product to have a go with. This heat and bond stuff, which I haven't tried before, but I think will be really useful for parts of this process. So I've got a piece of that to try out. It's quite pricey to buy. I think that piece cost me about £8, which I thought was quite a lot but a little will go a long way for this kind of project. So I thought I'll try it out, see how I get on, and you can decide if you want to get hold of some for yourself. It's definitely possible to do it without that. I just think it might be really useful. I've also got a new kind of embroidery stand to try out, which I'm really excited about, because I think not only will it make it easier to do, but it will be easier to film nicely so you can see. And also it's going to be really handy for my punch needling, which I'm also full of. My head is full of it. I've also been sent some beautiful things by Viviana. I'll give you a quick peek at them. And she's emailed me with some close-up pictures of some of her fish, and some tips about how she does her coral and seaweed and things as well. So yeah, so let's get straight to the desk and crack on, shall we? And I'll show you my gadget. So this is I'm sure you probably would have seen them. I'd seen them but never tried them before. I'm really impressed with it so far, because it was actually quite reasonable to buy. I think this is about 13 quid. It feels, I was worried because it's plastic, I was worried it wouldn't feel very sturdy, but it feels lovely and sturdy, and I like the way it screws together up here. The little nut locks into that space there, so that you can screw this up really tightly once you've got your fabric in. I've just put this in just to show you, but I'm actually not going to put it in here for a minute, because I've got other things I want to do first. But the great thing is you've got this big side here, and then you've got the little one here as well. And I might even find that I'm using both at once. I could be working on a small piece here, and then the larger piece on the back. So today I haven't had time to do much because I have been away. This is where I left it last time. Haven't actually done anything on this since my last video. It's all been about the Bazaar event and the quilt. I've obviously got lots of stitching to do in the background. I've got a selection of fabrics to make my coral and seaweed and bits and bobs with. Oh, it's been lovely to see what Susie Q's been doing, and I haven't had time to properly look at her videos, but I've just seen some glimpses. Beautiful. Her take on this project is absolutely gorgeous, so check that out. Susie Q, I'll put a link to her. I haven't checked how Paula's getting on with hers, so Craft at Artisaurus, and I did see that Kathy at Karma Creations and Joe's Colourful Paradise, so their mum and daughter, they've been doing live streams where they've been working on their underwater seascape. So it's I always love to see other people's takes on the projects that I'm working on. It really makes me very, very happy, and I'm sure Viviana will love to see it too. So this was the fish that Viviana sent me first. As I say, she's given me some tips. One thing she told me is that so I tried this kind of trapunto style quilting from underneath last time, if you remember. She says what she does is she leaves when she's stitching the fish onto the background, she leaves a little opening and stuffs it from the front. So she does a similar thing, but where I stuffed it from the back and then stitched up the back, she stuffs it at the front and then continues to stitch it on. She also came up with a great suggestion. She did confirm that she does what I did, which was to cut very close to the stitching around the outside, rather than turn the edge under. She said she liked the way that I turned it under with my needle, but wasn't sure how, if she could do that, so her suggestion, I think this is a great one and I will try it, so we will find out one way or another, is to use Inktense or something to just colour the edge of the fabric at the point where you're drawing onto the background fabric before you do the outline stitching. That way any whiteness of the fabric is going to be covered. I think that's a really good idea. I'm definitely going to try it. I also want to try some Inktense with some laces and things. I got these two beautiful pieces of lace amongst a lovely package from Suzanne in Alabama. Hello Suzanne! Amongst lots of other goodies. There will be a video coming out soon. And I thought I might try adding some brilliant colour to some of these with Inktense again. So Inktense will be coming out very soon. I know, after seeing me making a mess with Inktense a little while ago, I know Viviana did buy some Inktense blocks too, and covered her studio with threads and lace and things that she'd coloured with Inktense. It's such lovely vibrant colour they give you. So in a minute I'll show you the photos of Viviana's fish and coral that she sent me, and we'll have a look at the little tips that she's included. I'm just going to give you a quick peek now because I have done a proper video about it, but look at these beauties that Viviana sent me. Can you imagine how excited I was? Look at my hair standing on end. Look at the seahorse. How lovely it's going to be to have these in front of me while I'm working on this piece. Isn't it gorgeous? Look at the tassel. Look at the tassel. Ooh. Yum, 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 yum. Absolutely gorgeous. And I remember noticing this particular one. I remember noticing this stream of bubbles and things and these beautiful little beady buttons down here. So this is going to be a wonderful inspiration to have by me while I'm working on this project. She also sent this fabulous basket and another basket just started off ready for me to carry on and make myself and learn how to do it. Again, she sent me lots of tips, and it's got some of her beautiful ugly buttons made beautiful. And she does this by marbling them with old nail varnish and acetone. And she does it in a little shot glass size container. She said works the best. And look at them. I'm whizzing through this because I have done a special video about it, but just in case you missed that, just look at these. How beautifully presented. Gorgeous. At the moment I've got that with the sari ribbon that I'm using as part of the process of putting the quilt together. How beautiful does that look? So I'm going to take this out for a minute because I want to lay out the background and tack the pieces on before I put it in this frame. Okay, let's make sure I don't lose that. So I've got lots of pieces. I'll say some of these that were just little scraps. I want to try a few different things. Some it's just little torn scraps like this that I will use to add. You know, I might even slightly overlap the fish with some of them. I love little pieces, just little. This was an elasticated kind of smocky piece. Bit of a difference in texture. There's a bit more of it there. I might cut that piece off showing this contrasting stitching. I like that. Cut that into smaller strips. Not sure what I'll do with these. These might just end up being little pieces just sort of, you know, dotted in the background. I'm just not sure. I just picked them up because I love the colours. Inspired by some of the pieces that Susie Q is using, I thought this would be lovely if I cut around it and apply it to the background. More of that. I've got some of this which I cut a rock shape out of before and I've managed to lose it, so I'm going to cut another piece, whereupon of course it will turn up. And then I thought maybe just some more kind of goldeny colour with some of this brocade. These are all Bazaar scrap pack pieces, everything that's here. This piece. This was the backing off of something. I separated them out. I just thought that would be a lovely piece of background frondage. I thought this would be nice to do some of the kind of coral shapes that Viviana does, and this as well. I might try a little Suffolk puff or something with that. This I'd like to try gathering up a bit like Create and Craft with Christine. That's another one to check out. Do check out her when she was doing her coral reef project. It was much more three-dimensional than this, but I still think there are lots of ideas in there that will cross over nicely. She did things like ruffling up lace and things that she dyed to create pieces that would look kind of coralish like that. I think that would be beautiful. That's just using that edge piece. It's very typical of the kind of scrap pieces that you get in the Bazaar packs. A little shred of this one as well, again, I think would make a lovely difference in texture. And I will either stitch the edges closed or possibly colour them with ink tints as well. Be nice to have my little sharp pointy scissors this time. So yeah, I've got a lot of background work to do. I thought today what I'd like to do is work on a coral piece. I can use that as an opportunity to try out the Heat and Bond. So I got the Heat and Bond light sewable one because I think this is going to work really well with the silks and cottons that I'm using, and I'll be able to hand stitch through it without getting a horrible sticky needle. But I will let you know. We'll try it out and I'll let you know how I get on with that. So I've got here an extra little leftover strip of calico. That's what I'm thinking I'm going to use as a base for my to build my coral pieces on. So it'll end up, I know it's a little bit small, I won't be able to pull it tight all over like you should. I will just have to pull it across like that, but I think that'd be easy enough to work on. We'll soon find out anyway. Okay, so put that out the way for a minute. Let's first of all have a look at the emails that Viviana sent me. Okay, so here you can see this is a close-up of some of the coral kind of effect that Viviana gets, and I had asked her if she applies the coral direct to the fabric or if she builds it onto the background, onto a piece of calico or whatever first, like we did with the fish. And she says she does it part and part. She starts building it on the background calico and then cuts it out, applies it to the background and adds more stitching. And what she does is, once she's applied it to the background fabric, she adds all these lovely French knots. You can see here French knots and chain stitch to give all that gorgeous texture. I just love it. It's beautiful, and I've got lots of beads and things. I haven't got any beads quite like that, but I've got plenty of beads that will do a similar job. Yeah, she says she stacks the French knots up on top of each other, and it's something people don't always think of doing. Like, I can't think who I was talking to just recently, but just doing a straightforward cross stitch, but piling those crosses one on top of another, layering them on in different textures of thread and things that can have the most beautiful effect. Here's another type of coral effect that she's done. So you can see some sort of just vague fronds in the background there that she's done with sari ribbon. She uses that a lot. There's some of the lace. I think maybe that's the lace she's dyed with ink tints. It's certainly the kind of vibrant colour you can get with ink tints anyway. And then with these ones, it looks like she's gathered up the fabric. Perhaps she's run a gathering stitch at the top and bottom of these pieces to create this kind of tubular effect. Gathered it all up. How beautiful. What a lovely effect that is. And then on the top there's a contrasting kind of purpley colour underneath. You can hardly see, but it's, like she says, by layering up and layering up, it takes a long time, but it's worth it. You get that real depth to the piece. So there she's added lots of sequins and beads, and then she's done these long strings of tiny beads with the bigger beads and the sequins on the top to give that lovely effect to those kind of little almost tentacles reaching out. It's just so gorgeous. What a clever lady she is. Here's a close-up of the fish. So she's partly doing this to show the dimension that she's got in the fish by stuffing it kind of, you know, through a little gap in the front. You can also see that she has cut that fabric close to the edge there, and you can sort of see the pale cream colour of that plain calico underneath, which is what she's suggesting we could try colouring with Inktense. So I would definitely give that a go. And I would say, if you haven't got Inktense, experiment with any markers and things that you have got. This isn't a piece that's going to be put through the washing machine or whatever, is it? You know. I've definitely recognised some Bazaar scraps in here as well. So I love how she's done that fish. I love how she's done that little gill there, or whatever that is, the sticking out part with the see-through, with the transparent fabric there. I love that, and I'm definitely going to dig out some. I've got some sheer kind of organza scraps and things. That I will definitely have a go at doing something like that, and I think that would look so pretty for the seagull's kind of dorsal fin as well. There we go. That's another, again, you can see there how lovely and plump that fish is from stuffing it, and I think actually that's working better than mine stuffing it from behind did. Yeah, it's sort of standing out from the background more. Here's a little video she did, so you can see him even better. I think it's one of her birds in the background. She loves her birds. Lovely to see these details close up. I love these lines of kind of outline stitch spirals and sort of undulating lines crossing over each other. Isn't it beautiful? So yeah, that's a good look at all the stuff that Viviana has sent through. So I'm really looking forward to putting some of that in practice and trying a couple of things, extra things as well. I know Viviana did say she'd got hold of some of this heat and bond as well. I think she's going to wait and see how I get on with it. So let's do that first, shall we? Let's have a go with this. I'm going to do something really simple with it just to try it out. First thing I need to do is get my iron plugged in and pick out just a couple of pieces that I'm going to use as background, as coral in the background. The other thing I mustn't forget is that I've got these beautiful sequins that Barbara sent me. Sea glass coloured. There's sequins and buttons in there, all different sizes. Really gorgeous. Not a company that I know over here. This came from the States. Okay, so it says a moderate iron, so let's not have it on maximum then. I'm going to put my little craft iron on the 2 mark, but we'll soon know if it's successfully sticking or not. So I know there are different types of heat and bond, so you do need to make sure you get the right one. I think if you want to do it without doing any sewing at all, there is one that comes in a red pack, I think it is, that it will stick completely without any sewing. So the difference between this, I was using this very lightweight iron-on interfacing, and that worked really well to stabilise the fragile kind of silks. Not so much fragile as kind of uncontrollable. Silk sort of moves around a lot when you're trying to use it because it's so delicate. So this works really well to stabilise it but not take away from its delicacy and its lustre kind of thing. But it has just got the sticky on one side, so you still have to cut it out and tack it on. I sometimes use a glue stick to help me before I do the actual tacking stitches. But if you want something, which is what Viviana was interested in, something that's actually going to also enable you to stick it to the background fabric. So you can get one like this, but double-sided, where it's sticky on both sides. But with that, what you have to do is put it between the background fabric and the fabric you're applying before you iron it. It's hard to describe what I mean, but say I wanted to cut a specific, star shape, say, out of that. I couldn't cut the star shape, iron it onto the fabric, and then turn it over and iron it onto another piece of fabric, because there would be glue on both sides. It would stick to my iron. I'd have to put both pieces of fabric. You can't cut a shape out of this first. All you can do is fuse the two pieces of fabric together. It's really good if you want to add interface into a garment, that kind of thing. It's all right for that, but it won't work for what we want. It was lovely for doing the fish the way that I did that first fish, though. Really good. And this is cheap as chips, this stuff. Really cheap, like a couple of quid for all of this. This, however, was more expensive. So this piece, which is 43 centimetres by 1.1 metre, or 17 inches by 1.25 yards. And that's about 8 quid, so it's a lot more expensive. But it's very, very useful stuff. There are different makes of it. There are cheaper versions of it, but they're not always very reliable. So I went for the light. I don't want a heavyweight one. I want to be able to stitch through it easy, and I don't want to totally take away from the nature of the fabrics that I'm using. So with this, you've got a paper backing on one side. That's the big difference. So if I get a pencil, I'd say I want to make a little piece of coral, or coral shape like one of Viviana's. Let's look at one of her pieces of coral. So this kind of general, you know. Let's go right up to the corner. Let's not waste a single bit. Obviously, if you're doing words with this, you need to be mindful of doing it the right way around. So there we go. I think that'll do for a sort of generic coral shape, won't it? I'm not going to use my fancy new scissors. I'm going to use my old scissors, because I don't want to ruin my lovely new ones that Granny Sue sent me. And what I'm going to do this first is just cut roughly around this. I'm not cutting the exact shape, I'm just cutting roughly. Put the rest away. We don't want to waste them. We don't want to waste a bit of this. It's too expensive to waste. Well, it's not horrifically expensive, and Viviana did say that she got a good price for it, so it might be that it's just cheaper in the States. Okay, so I've just cut that out roughly. I don't want to waste too much of the heat and bond, and I don't want to waste any of the fabric I'm sticking it onto either. So, say I want to use this fabric for my coral, and it's quite, you know, if I try to cut an accurate shape out of this, and it doesn't really matter, to be fair, I'm trying this on somewhere where it doesn't really matter so much, because the coral, you know, if it comes out a bit wonky, it's not going to matter. But when it's something like when you're trying to fill in precise shapes, like on one of the fish, and you really want it to be accurate, obviously you can be as accurate as you like with this. You can use the various templates that I've made available. Links will be in the description box. Here's our octopus for a bit further down the line. There he is, a bit smaller. Here's the fish that I'm using, smaller and larger. But you can transfer these onto the heat and bond, the paper backing, and you can then cut them into sections and cut out really precise pieces. Draw them onto here, cut around the shape roughly, and then the first step is to iron them onto the back of the fabric. This doesn't really have a front or back. I'm just going to give a quick press of the fabric first. It's a bit creased. It's silk, so I'm being a little bit careful. You can see, you know, not too careful. So let me just double check the instructions. You wash all materials without fabric softeners. Yeah, so if you find it's not working, it might be that you've not followed the instructions properly. I'll put that in there so I can read it, it's better. Preheat the iron to medium heat, no steam. It's another difference from steamer seam. You place the adhesive on the back of the material to be bonded, the paper liner face up. Then you place and hold the iron on the paper liner for 2 seconds, and you repeat until the entire surface is bonded. I'll probably be able to do almost the entire surface in one press because this is quite small. Then we cut to shape accurately around the outline that I've drawn, and then we put it adhesive side down and press it for 6 seconds to finally bond it. I think if it's a thicker fabric, they suggest that you press it again from the other side for a couple of seconds, but it's all there in the instructions. This is most definitely not a thicker fabric. So the first thing is I'm going to put this, you can see that's the gluey side. It doesn't feel sticky, but you can see it's a shiny textured side, and this is the paper side. You want this upwards unless you want to wreck your iron. And I'm just going to put that down on my fabric, on the wrong side of my fabric if there was a wrong side, and hold this for 2 seconds. 1, 2. And again here, 1, 2. And let's just have a careful look. Yeah, that seems to have stuck perfectly well. Now this is, it's interesting to know. So because this is quite thin fabric, that has very slightly, I felt like I was having to peel that up off my ironing mat. Doesn't seem to have left anything actually. Worth bearing that in mind. It might just be worth putting a little extra piece of fabric behind, or a piece of baking parchment or something, so that you don't risk ruining your surface. Okay, this feels quite stiff at the moment, but it has still got the paper on. So before I take the paper off, I'm going to cut around my outline accurately this time. As I say, not so important really when it's something like this coral. I'm just doing this as a kind of simple way to try out the material. But if this was something where you wanted to be really accurate, I think this will work really well. The other thing it will do, apart from stopping the fabric from kind of moving around while you're trying to cut it and warping out of shape, it will also stop the edges from fraying until you've had a chance to properly stitch them down. There is absolutely no rhyme or reason here to the way to this shape. I haven't used any photo references at all. I really wanted, because I'm just back, I really wanted to just get stuck in and do some creating. I know you could say, well, Annie, you've been away stitching in Sussex at the Bazaar event. But to be fair, I didn't do so much stitching. You know, you're always, when you're sort of organising something like that, you tend to be running back and forth, helping people with stuff, finding things, talking to people, you know, setting things up, putting things away and all of that. You don't tend to do so much actual kind of doing. Do you know what I mean? So I've got a little bit left on there, so that now, well, I'm not going to say it'd be wastage, because I kind of feel like maybe that shape could be quite nice as a little piece of extra frondage somewhere. So let's hang fire on that. So now what we're hoping is, I'm going to just first press this background a bit, flatten that out. Now we're hoping we're going to be able to peel this backing paper off. You've got that stickiness on the back. Kind of thinking it might make sense to put it down. Hang on. Put it down like this. Because that actually is sticky now. Yeah, it's just sort of, no, it's not really sticky. It kind of feels a bit tacky, but it's not. It's more, feels like a PVC tablecloth almost. So now what we need to do is press that again for 6 seconds. This time I think what I'm going to do, because I'm worried about my iron if the glue comes through, because it is very thin fabric, I'm going to put just a layer of the calico between it. It might be that baking paper would be a better idea. I have also got some tracing paper here, so I could try that. Shall I do that, and then we can see what's going on more easily. So let's see. So yeah, as far as this doesn't actually stick the second you put it down, I could easily pick this up and move it. That's quite good. Maybe if it was completely sticky, it would be a bit difficult to handle. Don't know. Okay. So I'm going to put that there. They don't tell you to do that, but this is a very thin fabric. So, and this was 6 seconds this time, and you need to cover each area with 6 seconds. So I don't think you're meant to go back and forth like this. I think you hold it down for 6 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. We'll have a look, and we'll do a bit more if we need to. Oh, there's a bit more there. Three, 4, 5, 6. It's funny, you can see texture there but not here, which is making me feel like that's not going to be stuck on, but it is though. Got sort of, now can you see there, I've got, it's lifted there, it's stuck perfectly all around there, but it's lifted a bit here and here. It's sort of wrinkled a little bit. Now for my coral here, that's not going to matter, but it would matter for some things. I think I'm worried about putting my iron straight on it, but I think I'm gonna risk it. Nope, seems to be okay. And maybe it needs that direct heat. Yeah, it seems to have gone down nicely now. Okay, yeah, no damage to the iron at all. And that is now stuck perfectly on the fabric. So, pleased with that. Next thing is to see how easy it is to stitch through by hand. So I'm going to unplug my iron and get my needle and things ready, and I'll be back in a sec. Right, I've done another one on a different fabric, and this time I just put my tracing paper down, then the fabric, and then the heat and bond on top, paper side up, and then cut round the shape once it was ironed on. That worked perfectly well, and it hasn't messed up anything or messed up my iron, so that's good. And you can see a little mark where it's picked up some of the glue from that other piece, so I think it's definitely worth doing that, putting a layer of baking paper or something there, just for the safe side. Probably wouldn't matter with a heavier cotton fabric, but with these kind of quite lightweight ones it matters more, I think. So this one, I'm going to do this a different way just to see how it works and see what it's like to apply directly to the background. So let's say I wanted to put that there, bring it up so you can see it a bit better. So we're now going to, I've pressed it for 2 seconds on this side. Now I'm going to peel it off, put it glue side down. Again, it just feels, it's got that slight clinginess, like a PVC tablecloth. It doesn't feel tacky as such. So let's just pop that down. I've got that underneath, but I can't see with the calico and these layers of fabric that it's going to need it really, but let's see. And this is supposed to be 6 seconds now. Oh, actually now I'm worried about this fabric too, because this isn't cotton. Let's have a tentative look. I think that's done it. Yeah, pretty happy with that. I'm not sure what's in this. It might be all cotton, I'm not sure. It's just tentatively, as I say, if in doubt, like with a thicker fabric or whatever, you can iron it from the other side as well, just to be sure. But that seems to be really well stuck. Well, yeah. So if I was to bend this up, because they say it needs either machine or hand stitching to finish the edges, but you can see those edges aren't going to come up too easily, are they? And it certainly stops all that annoying fraying, because this fabric is very, you can see there, you can see how prone that would be to fraying otherwise. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. I just hope it stitches through by hand nice and easily, and then I will be made up with this product. I'm very happy to recommend it. Yeah. So we got the 2 things to try. We got this one on the calico. Now that feels still very, very soft. This feels a bit more, it doesn't feel silky anymore. You can see, I guess because the silk is so delicate, it's come through more, and it's got an almost, not plasticky feel to it, but a smooth, yeah, it's changed the feel of it in a way that when I was just using the iron-on interfacing, that doesn't change the feel of it in the same way. But for the way that Viviana and I are using these silks, it's more for the colour and vibrancy and lustre of them. It's certainly not, it's not changing that, it's not taking away from that. And I love how clean those lines are. So I think I will end up using this for some purposes and the interfacing for others, and in some instances, like with the seaweed fronds and stuff, I won't need to use any at all. Let's try a little bit of stitching on here. Whoops, on here first. Let's try matchy first. All I'm doing is testing it out for you at this stage, just to see what it's like to stitch into. It's a bit of a torpedo needle. That's quite hard work, just going through just the cottons. So if it will stitch through with this, I'm certainly feeling like it at the moment. Yeah. Let's try with a finer needle. I tend to use quite chunky needles because I like using chunky threads, because I find them easier to grip, and because you can see them easier on the camera as well. Okay, so this one I'm just going to hold like this, just do it in the normal way, and then we'll put the other one in the embroidery frame. Let's do a chain stitch up here. So I'm going right into, let's see if I can zoom in a bit more. I'm going to go right into the edge here of this piece to secure those edges down. That'll be a good tester of this stuff too. So I've got some resistance there, but that is just due to the fact that I've got a large needle. So if I go here, I'm just going to deliberately miss where the product is and just go into the normal fabric. Yeah, it's no different. It's no different. Let's say I wanted to do some back stitching up here. Let's see how that goes. This is going right through the heat and bond. Yeah. I started off as a back stitch and I've left a gap, so I'm going to go into a running stitch now. Yeah, no problem at all going through that. I'm trying to honestly say if it feels different. It doesn't. Does it feel a bit different from me if I just pull it through there? Maybe there's a slight bit more resistance. Nothing much to it, and absolutely no stickiness there at all. Not a trace of stickiness at all, which is brilliant. So let's really test it out with some French knots here, and I think it will be handy when I'm going to take it downstairs in a bit. I will put it into that frame because I think it's going to make it easier, especially for things like French knots and pistol stitches and what have you, and adding beads. It'll all be a lot easier with the frame. Yeah, because you can, it's so much easier to have both hands so that you can put tension on your thread at the right point to get a nice neat little French knot. And she said she piles them up one on top of another. What I might do is get a different colour. I might use some of that variegated pink as well. Or was this the variegated pink? Yeah, it was, I think. I might use some of the deeper pink as well, or mix in some of the orange and pile it up on top. Yeah, yeah, it's lovely to stitch into. Really nice. Yeah, very happy with that. I might do some lines of a back stitching down here as well, just to give it a little bit of extra texture. Yeah, really nice. Really happy with that. So what I'm going to do is build up, use those pieces that I showed you earlier on to build up a little collage of pieces in the background, some stones and some seaweed fronds. I'll do some gathering up some pieces. I'll make some Suffolk puffs. Yeah, all kinds of things I want to try. Let's have a go at this other one on the frame. So I'll just use a little frame for this one. So as I say, it's ingenious how they've got it angled there to make it easier to turn the wing nut. Just loosen that up to the point where I can take it off. So as I mentioned, normally you'd have a piece that covers it, covers the frame completely so that you can pull it tight all around, but I just want to use up this piece, so I'm going to make it work. Okay. And it's nice that because the way that shape is cut in the plastic there, that nut sits nicely into it, so it stops it turning round, so you can turn the wing nut to make it really nice and tight. So once I've got it almost tight, I'll just pull on the fabric again to stretch it really taut. Yeah, as I say, it won't hold it perfectly because I'm not pulling it in all four directions, but I think for my purposes here it'll work. I think it's a really handy little thing for punch needling as well. So I've still got my stitch kit punch needle to play with. Lots of ideas that Barbara in the States has been sharing with me to try out. Yeah, so that's not perfect having it like that. I can't pull it properly tight, but it will do. And you can see, I think, you can slightly see like the texture of the glue, and it definitely has a feel. It feels more plasticish. It feels less like silk. It doesn't feel like silk anymore, but it still looks the same. It looks beautiful. So yeah, very happy with that. I think that's tight enough for my purposes. So let's do, I picked out this peachy colour for this one. Let's see how we get on stitching through this. Yeah, very happy with this stuff. I don't think I'll use it for everything. I wouldn't want to use it for everything because it is more pricey, but for certain things it's going to be a godsend. I think I will add some beads into this as well. I might even add beads where the dots are in this fabric. I think that could look quite cute, couldn't it? Yeah, and it will make it, having it in a frame, it's going to make it easier to do any fancy beading. But I can also put it in a frame once it's stitched to the background, because what Viviana said was that she does some stitching on it first, like this, and then when she applies it to the background, she adds more stitching and beading and things as well. The other thing she was talking about doing, but I haven't bothered with it for this because it was just a kind of vague shape. But when I come to do the fish, the octopus, the seahorse, things like that, what I would do is transfer the image onto the background fabric, the calico that I'm using, outline it with pencil, pen, whatever. I'll probably use my friction pen. Then I'll try colouring the edges of it with ink tints that will coordinate with the fabric that I'm using. Then I will also, if I'm using the heat and bond, I'll transfer the same image onto this, apply that to the fabrics, and then iron them onto here. And then if there's any little parts of fabric that aren't covered, it won't matter because they'll be coloured with ink tints. That was Viviana's idea, and I will try that. When I come to do the next more complicated piece, I'll either go on to the octopus or maybe the seahorse next. I will try that. But this was meant to, I just wanted to try the product out in a more sort of simple way first. So that's what I'm doing now. So I think I'm just going to do some French knots and see how they feel. Let's compare that with how it feels just going through the fabric. Yeah, it's definitely more of a push to get it through, but it's not difficult, and yeah, absolutely no trace of stickiness whatsoever. So that's brilliant. And look, no frayed edges at all, and this stuff would be fraying like mad. Okay, I'm going to do some French knots. It's so, see, with having your hands free, it's so much easier to put that tension on the thread so you can get a really perfect little French knot. So much easier. I don't usually think of using a frame for what I would call slow stitching projects, but for some things it is easier. It's interesting, we were talking, there's a lady called, we had a lot of Sues. We do have a lot of Sues in our community. There's a lady, a Sue that we'd not met before, was at the Bazaar event. She's a very keen embroiderer, and you know, she was saying about the difference between embroidery and slow stitching, and it's kind of, you know, we were talking about, you know, what are the differences. You know, we were saying, well, slow stitching is quite meditative and easygoing. She said, well, embroidery is very meditative to me as well, and which is a fair point, you know, but I think for me, one of the big differences is it definitely crosses over a lot. But one of the big differences is that there are no rules with slow stitching. You make it up as you go along. It's very easy going. I wouldn't usually think of using a frame, but if it makes it easier and more enjoyable, then so be it. You know, I'm not worried about what the back looks like. Nothing like that, you know. And certainly making these French knots is much easier with this. Even putting the frame in a slightly half-assed way is much easier. Yeah. And therefore more enjoyable. And yeah, I might use some of this deeper orange as well, some line work and things, or maybe I'll use that to stitch sequins on, or beads where all these, I like the idea of doing beads where all these dots are. I think that would be quite cute. But yeah, as Viviana says, it's a bit of a labour of love to the amount of stitching that goes into these. She just layers up the stitching to create lots of interest and dimension and depth to her work, and it takes as long as it takes. So I think I'm going to leave this on here and carry on working on this piece, and then next time I'll come back and attach it to the background and add some more pieces. And because I haven't done the Inktense edging this time, but what I might try is just running some Inktense along the edge before I cut it. So I might do that next time, see if that will work as well. Just try different things. Very, very happy with the main thing I wanted to try today was that heat and bond stuff, to see how that works. As I say, next time I'll do a slightly more complicated process with it, where I'll use it to, I'll transfer the image to the heat and bond and to the background fabric, and then to the fabric that I'm going to apply, and match up all the little pieces and make a little jigsaw of it and see how we get on with that. But yeah, this was a good first test, I think. I suppose I could do a little bit of the laying out of the background with you before I go. So I've got that. I'm going to come back to that, and I'll probably layer that up with this other piece that I'm just making. And I've got all of these kind of pieces. That one can go up there, I think. I will add some rocks and things in as well. Where's my little Sharpie scissors gone? Here they are. And that one could maybe go up there, actually. I love this piece. And I think I'm just going to cut round close to the edge all the way up and then tack it on. Yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah, I think because it's stitched the way it is, with this is one of the, this came out of a Borders pack, I think, maybe, can't remember now, but anyway, one of the Bazaar scrap packs. But yeah, because it's embroidered and it's got all this interfacing on the back, I can just cut this outer fabric off and just cut around the gold part. I think that would be really pretty. Yeah, and that'll just be placed along there somewhere. That'll go up there. This piece, I shall probably just try gathering this piece. Yeah, I might try folding this one in half and gathering it along there. I think that would look nice. That's quite similar to things I've seen Christine doing, of Create and Craft with Christine. Just to create these beautiful little, just little interesting clusters like that of pieces that could be coral, could be, you know, could be whatever you like, could be a bit of foliage. I love this piece of this just leftover shred, and I like the idea of slightly overlapping that with my fish to sort of bed him in a little bit. I think I will twist some of the pieces when I apply them as well. More pieces of that to cut if I want to. I don't need to pile it all on this first page. That one I've already said about I'm going to gather up as well to make another little interesting corally piece. I might just cut round these and just dot them about just to be little, I don't know, what are they? What are they? What would they be? That's a baby seahorse, look. Yeah, I might just turn in the edges of that one and just apply it somewhere, just for a little point of interest, you know. And last but not least, I want a couple of bits of like a goldy sandiness. I'm not going to put it kind of all along the bottom. I think maybe just a little piece of it here and there, and another piece of this because I've lost that first one that I cut, so one roughly that shape, which I will put in the bottom here somewhere. So that's kind of where I'm going. That one will be all cut out. Coral will be layered up here. These will be coming out from behind a rock. What was that piece that I said I'll put that aside? I won't chuck it, I'll put it aside. Here it is. Yeah, this odd wavy shaped piece that was where I cut around the coral. I might try cutting that out, just cutting along there and gluing, adhering, you know, ironing it on in here somewhere. I think that could look really pretty. No idea what it would be meant to be, but you can, you know. And I think this one I might not be big enough. I'm thinking it might be quite cute as a little Suffolk puff, which I could stuff and fill the aperture with tiny beads. So what I'm going to do is stop filming now, finish this video now. I will go away and get these background pieces tacked on. I will do a bit more work on this coral, just to the point where I'm ready to cut it off of the frame, off of the background fabric, and then I can stitch it onto my background, and I'll try colouring the edges with Inktense. So I'll come back next time and show you how I'm getting on with that, do a bit of finishing stitching on that, and then maybe we'll start a slightly more complicated use of the heat and bond, just to have a bit more of an experiment with it. Maybe I'll just do another fish, because I need more than one fish there, so that would be a good way to give it a good test. I think that'll do for my thumbnail. So yeah, that's me done for this video, but I will be back really soon because I've got some catching up to do. I've also got big plans for my punch needle, a really fun punch needle project I think I'll like as well. So do check out the other YouTubers that I've mentioned. So there's Joe's Paradise of Colour, her mum is Kathy at Karma Creations. I would try and remember to link to both those people, and Create and Craft with Christine, because you can check out her coral reef series that she did. Susie Q, Crafter Artisaurus. If you know anybody else who's following along with this project and they're on YouTube, please give me a shout. Been a bit out of touch with YouTube and stuff for the last 2 or 3 weeks because I had so much on. So if there's anyone I've missed out, please do let me know and I'll link them in the comments. And if you're following along, please do share photos if you're in our Discord community or Facebook group. Please pop your photos in there, because I would so love to see them, and I know Viviana would as well. If you're not in our Facebook group or Discord community, you're very welcome to join. It's all free, and I will put links to that. You'll find them in my link tree, which will be in the description box. Thank you very, very much to my channel members who I will be scrolling up here as I speak. I've run out of words. I've run out of words to express how grateful I am to all of those people who choose to support the channel in that way. It's really very much appreciated and makes a huge difference, and I appreciate every single one of you. If you're interested in joining, there is somewhere down here on my PC, but it might be in a different place on your device. There's a button that says join, or it might say you might have to click on the subscribe button and it comes up with the option to join. They've changed something recently, but yeah, somewhere you'll find the option to join the channel, and if you click on that, a little window will pop up, tell you all about it. But you know, please don't feel obliged. I don't want anybody feeling like they've got to apologise for not joining. It's not a problem at all. The content won't be changing. Channel members do get to see videos earlier than other people, and before the adverts go up, so that's just a little thank you perk for them. But and they get some of they get the underwater world templates are free, that kind of thing, but there's nothing that, you know, nothing is going to be inaccessible. You don't have to be a member to join in with our projects and things. I don't want that to be the case. If you do want to get hold of those templates, my link to my Gumroad is in the description box as well. The Freebie Fish one is free to everybody, and the Underwater World one with the Octopus and Seahorse and Lobster are free to channel members. But just, yeah, thank you to everybody for watching. I hope you really enjoyed it. Thank you for your patience while I've been away and busy doing other things, and for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed this little video and feel inspired to make your own underwater world, because you know that always makes me very happy, Bunny. Okay, I'm going to stop waffling now. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.